Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, it's Duke.
And this is Corey.
Thanks for tuning in to our 6th episode of the Drive-In Review.
It's hard to believe it's been 6 episodes already.
Yep, 6 episodes.
Well, this one's, you're in for a doozy.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about 80s high school comedies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You want to get started?
Sure, I'll start this time. We're going to go with Just One of the Guys.
Yeah.
This one came out April 26, 1985. And it's about a high school teenager who believes that she's being treated unfairly because she's a girl. Mm-hmm. So she swaps genders, pretends to be a boy, and joins another high school, and then falls in love. So kind of complicated, because he thinks she's a dude.
Yeah. And
everything. But it stars Joyce Heiser as Terry, which is the teenager, and William Zabka.
Yeah.
So from...
We know that name.
Huh?
We know that name.
Right. From everybody that doesn't, he's in Karate Kid, Cobra Kai.
Yep.
Stuff like that. This was directed by Lisa Gottlieb. And she also directed Cadillac Ranch. Have you ever heard of that one?
I have not.
Stars Christopher Lloyd.
Really?
Yep.
Is that an 80s film?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was basically the only other one that she directed. But I found interesting, she was part of the casting department for the Blues Brothers.
Oh, cool.
This was directed and produced by Columbia Pictures. It only had a budget of $5 million, but grossed $11.5 million, so it got its money back.
Yeah.
IMDb rating gave it 6.5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 57% with a 65% audience rating, and Letterboxd gave it 3 out of 5.
It's a pretty average film.
It really was. I gave it 5 out of 10 slates. What about you?
I think I gave it about 7.5.
Okay.
It's a pretty average film. It didn't become a cult classic like all the other ones we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Some fun facts about it. I only got a couple of these. The Guy Terry version was based off of Ralph Macchio.
Oh, yeah, okay, I can see that. Right.
I found that interesting, especially with William Zabka. Yeah. So Joyce Heiser, who played Terry, didn't want the topless scene at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. The producer rewrote several times, and finally went to Joyce and was like, "You got to show them."
Yeah. So
and she did, and that's about the best way to convince somebody you're not a guy.
Yeah, pretty much. Aside from pulling your pants down.
Right.
Didn't they basically remake this movie in the late 90s? She's the Man.
Yeah, with Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jennifer Jason Lee. Yeah, Jennifer Jason Lee.
Yeah.
Also auditioned for the role for Terry, which kind of scared Joyce Heiser because I guess she stole a role from her before. Oh. So she was afraid she wasn't going to get this part either.
Okay.
But so luckily they did because she did a good job at it. And this movie kind of reminds me of the drama film For the Boys. I'm sorry, not For the Boys. Boys Don't Cry.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen
that one. Basically, same thing. They a gender role swap and but that one's pretty dark and of course that's why it's a drama.
Sure.
and everything. I believe Hilary Swank is in that one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of her earlier films.
Hmm.
And that's all I got for that one.
Okay.
Pretty short and sweet.
Yeah. The prequel to She's the Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got for us? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. One more thing. This movie, if you're interested in watching it, it's free on Crackle, or you can rent it on Amazon.
Okay.
So
yeah, you could basically rent anything on Amazon or whatever.
Amazon's become the new Blockbuster.
Right. Yeah.
All right,
So the one I'd like to talk about is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Mr. Spicoli, you're on dangerous ground here. You're causing a major disturbance on my time.
I've been thinking about this, Mr. Hand. If I'm here and you're here, doesn't that make it our time?
That's classic.
For any 80s high school list, this one has to be on it.
Yeah.
So I threw it up as my first one.
If not, you're a loser.
Yeah, loser. So the film was released August 13th, 1982, and it was directed by Amy Heckerling. She also did some notable films such as Johnny Dangerously
All right.
with Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
She directed the National Lampoon's European Vacation, which is my personal least favorite of the four films.
Yeah.
She did Look Who's Talking and its sequel, Look Who's Talking 2. She did Clueless, and speaking of loser, she did Loser.
All right. The one with Jason Biggs.
The one with Jason Biggs
Yeah.
from 2000. The movie was written by Cameron Crowe, and it's based on some true live events that he went through. For a synopsis, basically the movie follows a group of high school students growing up in Southern California. And the characters Stacey Hamilton and Mark Ratner are looking for a love interest and are helped along the way by their older classmates Linda Barrett and Mike Damone. The center of the film is held by Jeff Spicoli, played by Sean Penn, and who is a perpetual stoner.
Yeah, he's basically the class clown.
Yeah, he's the stoner class clown. And it's hated immensely by Mr. Hand, and he is convinced that everyone is on dope. So, yeah, like I said, it was written by Cameron Crowe, based on his book, who, as we probably know, wrote and directed Say Anything with John Cusack. He also did Singles back in 92, and he also directed Almost Famous back in the late 90s. And the movie was made on a budget of $4.5 million, and it made $27 million. So it wasn't a huge hit,
Right.
but it made its money back, and it wasn't until, subsequent years it became a cult classic.
I was saying, we're finding that out, all these movies that didn't do so well in the box office when they were released, they've become cult classics and are now just super popular. So it's really shocking. That's a reason why we put the budget and what the box office made and everything, just to give you a differential, of how popular these movies have become over the years.
Yeah. And we'll see that as the list goes on. So a lot of these movies.
Yeah. Speaking of list, this movie has, stars galore in it.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
The IMDb rating for this was a 7.1 out of 10. That shows you how much of a cult classic it is now, over 40 years later. Letterboxd gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 78% with a 80% audience rating.
Nice.
So clearly, it's given what it's deserved.
Oh, yeah.
It was mostly filmed in L.A., in and around L.A., of course. It's totally a Southern California vibe, totally.
Sure.
Gag me with a spoon. And it stars Jennifer Jason Leigh and her tits, Phoebe Cates and her tits, Judge Reinhold, Sean Penn, Brian Backer, who we've seen in Moving Violations.
Yes.
Kelly Maroney, which this was her film debut. She was also known for Chopping Mall and Night of the Comet.
Do we see her tits too?
No.
No. Okay.
No. This was also Nick Cage's first paid role, and he's credited as Nicholas Coppola, which is his real name. Also, Eric Stoltz has a small role in the film, and it was also Forrest Whitaker's debut film.
So a lot of cherries popped there.
Yeah,
on
a
that
lot
one.
of, and even the director. It was her first film as well.
Nice.
I do have some facts about the film. Aside from Heckerling's first film, Nick Cage lied about his age to get a bigger role in this film. He was actually 17 when they filmed the movie, and he told him he was 18 so he could get a bigger role. But
Interesting.
Much to his chagrin, they cut out most of his parts.
Right.
So you basically see him like working in a restaurant or something, in one of the fast food restaurants. And that's about all he does in the film. Sean Penn, according to the director, Sean Penn was actually getting high with his friends in the van before the prom scene. I believe when he gets out of the van, you see the smoke rolling out. That is true THC smoke, folks. Also, during Spicoli or Sean Penn's dream sequence, he is being interviewed by Stu Nahan, who is a sports broadcaster or something. And that was a role that was rejected by both David Letterman and Johnny Carson. They both turned down that role because of the sexual content of the film. Another fun fact is the checkerboard canvas vans, the ones that you see me wearing sometimes.
Right.
Well, this movie made those shoes famous.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A fashion statement.
Fashion statement. Another fun fact, another one, is Vic Morrow, a classic actor. He is the father of Jennifer Jason Leigh. He tragically was killed during the filming of the Twilight Zone movie. And he was killed 3 weeks before the opening night of this film.
Man.
So there's that. Said 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks, yeah. Let's see, what else do I have? Justine.
Okay.
Justine Bateman turned down the role of Linda to star in Family Ties,
Nice.
which aired for 7 years.
Right.
So I'd say it's
That was a win.
pretty good give and take.
Yeah.
Mr. Hand, who is always thinking that everybody's on dope, which he's probably right, in 1982.
I cannot see him as anybody else besides Mr. Hand on Fast Times, except for Popeye.
Popeye, huh?
Yeah, he plays Popeye's father
Oh, okay.
in it. So that's
Do you know who was approached to play Mr. Hand
no.
originally? Fred Gwynn.
Oh wow,
Yes, Fred Gwynn, the original Herman Munster. Yep.
that would have been interesting.
Yep. That would have been interesting. Been a completely different movie, I think.
Yeah.
Also, people that auditioned for roles in this film were Ralph Macchio. Again, we're talking about Ralph Macchio. Matthew Broderick auditioned for a role. Meg Tilly. Michelle Pfeiffer. Lori Loughlin. Elizabeth Shue. Kelly Preston. Rosanna Arquette. Carrie Fisher. Ali Sheedy and D.B. Sweeney all auditioned for roles.
That just goes to show you the hype of this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wanted to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was a great cast.
yeah. I'm surprised Matthew McConaughey wasn't on the list.
All right. Yeah. I keep getting older and they stay the same age. All right. And that's all I got for Fast Times. It's a good flick. You can check it out on Prime.
On Prime. All right. Well, I gave that movie 8 out of 10.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So cool. All right, we're on the same page. Well, since we're talking about 80s high school comedies,
Yes, we are.
you cannot put in a John Hughes movie in here. So
You can't?
I mean, you can, but that wouldn't be right. There's so many of them.
You should put a John Hughes movie in there.
I am.
What do you have?
We're going to talk about The Breakfast Club.
The next time I have to come in here, I'm cracking skulls.
Okay, that's a good one. There's tons of John Hughes movies we could chose from.
This one just, it stands out, and I've seen it the most. Because, like, every time I put on AMC, it's on.
But it's not about you, Corey.
I know, it's about the consumer. It's about the people. So, if you haven't seen The Breakfast Club, let me
now.
let me inform you.
It now. Watch the movie now.
Basically, it's about 5 students, all different backgrounds, and they share a Saturday detention together as they learn about each other and their backstories, and also they try to escape the clutches of the warden principal.
Yeah.
And that's about it on the synopsis. It's a good flick. Star-studded role. It stars Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy, Anthony Michael Hall, and Emilio Estevez. Movie was released February 15th, 1985. Directed none other than John Hughes. Go figure.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Right. No need to list his movies because everybody should know him.
You should, but if you don't, he also did Weird Science, Pretty in Pink. He wrote National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah. 16 Candles.
Candles. Curly Sue.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
He wrote Home Alone.
Yeah.
And its sequel.
And the list goes on.
Yep.
It was distributed and produced by Universal Pictures. Oddly enough, the movie only had a budget of $1 million. I can see that because it's mainly in one room.
Yeah, got one setting.
It grossed $51.5 million.
Yeah, it was definitely
huge success.
Yeah.
IMDb gave it 7.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 89% with a 92% audience rating.
Well deserved.
And Letterboxd gave it 3.8 out of 5. So, a favorite all around. Mm-hmm. My rating on it is actually 7 out of 10 slates.
Okay.
Would have been an 8, but I've seen it so many times now that it's just getting old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
So my ratings are starting to go down the more I see it.
Sure. I gave it an 8.5.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's fair.
It's not one of my favorite John Hughes films. I think that's reserved for probably Weird Science. But it's a great film. I mean, it's a classic.
Yeah.
You know where we can watch it?
Right now, you can see it on Prime Video.
Okay.
I believe it is streaming on there for free. If not, like we said before, you can rent anything on Amazon. And if you're lucky, you can also catch it on AMC.
Yeah, you could probably see it on Pluto TV as well. Any of these movies you could probably flip through and it might be playing at some point.
At some point. Some fun facts about this.
Okay.
I've got some original casting roles that are very they're very interesting.
Slap me with them.
So for John Bender character that played by Judd Nelson and everything, there were Emilio Estevez actually was supposed to be played by John Bender.
Emilio.
And also Nicolas Cage and John Cusack.
Oh, okay.
So that would have been kind of interesting to see them. But I think Judd Nelson nailed it.
Of course.
For the janitor,
Did
Carl,
I stutter?
yeah. For Carl the janitor, there was two other ones considered for the role that kind of surprised me too. It was Rick Moranis and John Candy.
Wow.
I think that would have been a completely different movie.
Sure.
You know, because they would have had to,
even with a small role like that. Yeah.
yeah, they would have had to throw some kind of comedic spin on it. And
Crazy Canadians.
right. And oddly enough, John Hughes was pretty busy when he was filming The Breakfast Club because he was also filming Ferris Bueller's Day Off at the same time.
Okay.
Which is odd because Ferris Bueller it didn't get released until 87.
I thought it was 86.
Or 86, yeah, I'm sorry. And so they were filming at the same time, but he pushed Ferris Bueller off about a year.
Okay.
So that's all I got on those fun facts. I just thought, the original casting roles, they're always fun to know
Yeah,
who.
absolutely.
So
Just to imagine what the movie would be like with those particular people.
right. Or what their future would have hold if they would have took that part.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
all right, what do you got next?
Next movie I have is Heathers.
Watch it, Heather. You might be digesting food there. Yeah, where's your urge to purge?
Ooh. It is a dark, dark comedy featuring Winona Ryder, Christian Slater, and Shannon Doherty. The synopsis involves a girl who half-heartedly tries to be part of the in crowd, or the Heathers, of her school, and meets a rebel who teaches her more devious ways to play social politics, i.e., by killing the popular kids. So yes, it's a very dark comedy. It's pretty controversial in its time. It might be controversial now. Hell, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it would be.
I think some people thought that the movie was spoofing or making fun of suicide, which in fact it's not. I think it says a lot more about suicide than it does parodies it. So
Right.
the movie was directed by Michael Lehman, who has directed other movies such as 40 Days and 40 Nights, My Giant, which is not a movie you hear about very often,
Right.
Airheads, a classic, Hudson Hawk
Okay.
with Bruce Willis,
Mm-hmm.
and Meet the Applegates.
That's a classic.
Yeah, that's another movie you don't hear about very often.
No.
Heathers was released March 31st, 1989. I believe it was released in January at the Sundance Festival.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by Daniel Waters, who also wrote such movies as Hudson Hawk, who I guess worked with Michael Lehman on that film as well. But Mr. Waters also wrote Batman Returns.
Nice.
So, the movie was created on a budget of $3 million, and it only made $1.1 million. So it did flop in the
Right.
theaters, but as you'll see, a lot of these movies became cult classic over the years.
Yeah.
I think in fault of movie rentals being shown on TV and the like.
Mm-hmm.
So, IMDb gave it a 7.2 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 3.8 out of 5, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 93%. 93%. That's the reviewer rating.
Right.
The audience rating gave it 83%. So it was highly rated.
But again, controversial, so a lot of not a lot of fans of the movie.
Right.
So
It's a pretty odd film for a comedy.
Yeah.
It's very offbeat.
And back then, dark comedies weren't really popular all that much either.
It's not for everybody.
No.
But I enjoyed it quite a bit. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 slates.
Okay. I gave it 7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not bad.
I like, I like Christian Slater. I don't think, I mean, there's not really any bad films I've seen with him in it. So he did a good
I
job.
would have loved to have put Pump Up the Volume on this list. Unfortunately, it was released in 1990, so
Right.
it just barely missed the mark. But I do have some facts about the film.
Okay.
Christian Slater's character JD
Mm-hmm.
was inspired by Jack Nicholson. As a matter of fact, he wrote Nicholson a letter hoping that he would watch the film, and he never got a response back from Nicholson. So, I don't know. A little too good for this
Right.
dark comedy.
I wonder if he would go up to him today and be like, "Have you seen my movie yet?"
Who are you?
I'm still waiting.
Who are you? I've been acting for like 35 years. You don't. I sound just like you. What's. Winona Ryder's agent begged her not to do this film because he or she believed that it would ruin her career. Probably because of the dark content of the film. And that's a lot of the issue with this film was the dark content. A lot of people backed out of the film or decided not to do it because the movie is so dark and has everything to do with suicide and the murder of popular kids in high school.
What year was this came out again?
It came out in 89.
89?
It was made in 88.
So wasn't this this was after Beetlejuice then, correct?
Just after.
Just after. All right, so it came out just after Beetlejuice. So that surprises me that they tried to talk her out of the character because
She was a dark character in Beetlejuice.
right,
Yeah.
and I mean, I guess I could see that in a way because playing one dark character, that was threatening to commit suicide and everything, and then coming to this movie here, I can kind of see it a little bit, but at the same time, I'm surprised they tried to talk her out of it because she did so well in Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. That's a good point. But I do have lots of other
Continue.
fun facts.
Continue.
Christian Slater and Winona Ryder were dating during the filming and the promotion of this film, which some may know, some may not know.
Mm-hmm.
Heather Graham was offered a role in this film, but declined. The song in the film Teenage Suicide, Don't Do It, which is done by a fictitious band called Big Fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a spoof of a 1980 Queen song called Don't Try Suicide. So, there's
All right.
that, yeah. Tori Spelling, who is the father of Aaron Spelling,
Mm-hmm.
she saw the film and liked Shannon Doherty's character and acting in the film and recommended to her father
Right.
for the role of Beverly Hills 90210.
Okay.
So it was because of this film Shannon Doherty got a role in 90210.
Nice.
I'm going to give you a guess on who auditioned for the role of JD, Christian Slater's character. Any thoughts?
John Cusack.
Nope.
I have no clue.
Oh, Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt
Okay.
auditioned. That's my Sean Connery.
Sean Connery coming in.
The name Heather is said 90 times in the film. The name JD is a nod to the writer J.D. Salinger, who we know as the writer of Catcher in the Rye.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a nod to James Dean because of the rebellious attitude of the character, of Christian Slater's character.
Okay.
Other people that were considered and auditioned for roles in this film: Drew Barrymore. I don't know. That would have been interesting to see.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey was considered for the role of JD.
That would have been completely different.
Judd Nelson was considered for the role of JD, as was Jason Bateman.
Okay.
So, imagine Jason Bateman as the Christian Slater role. I think I could.
I could. More than Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been weird.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who the hell Jim Carrey was back in
No.
89.
No, not at all.
So that's all I got, though. Heathers is a great film. I believe it's also playing on Prime. So definitely check that one out. It's one of those controversial films. Very dark comedy. If you like your comedy dark,
Right.
like your coffee, check it out. What you got?
Oh, next, I think everybody loves this movie, no matter what your age is. It is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, I loved it when I was 9.
Put them in the Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden? Excellent!
Execute them.
Bogus.
I was debating on whether to save this one for last or not, but I figured, right down the center, right in the middle, it did its purpose. So if you, just crawling out of a rock and you've never heard about this movie, it's about 2 high school seniors and amateur musicians, the Wild Stallions.
Yeah. With a Y.
They must pass history class in order to graduate. So they're terrified. One of them is being threatened to go to boarding school, and they just don't want to become losers for the rest of their life. They are sitting in front of a Circle K, if for all you older folks that remember Circle K.
Yeah. I think they still have them.
Yeah, they're around still.
Yeah.
Just not as popular.
Sure.
So, anyways, they're sitting in front of there, and they come across Rufus from the future. And so the adventure begins. They get into a time machine that is a phone booth.
Yep.
And for those of you that don't know what a phone booth is, it was a metal box with a payphone in it. You had to pay to call somebody.
What's a payphone?
Exactly. You had to pay to call somebody.
What's a rerun?
Hence the phrase, here's a quarter, call somebody who cares.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyways, so they have to travel in time, and they fall in love and try to, save their future.
Okay.
So, it stars Alex Winters and Keanu Reeves and George Carlin.
Yep. George Carlin is Rufus.
And many more. There's lots of cameos in this movie, and it was released in February 17th, 1989. So right at the end of the 80s.
Yep.
So they, ended it on a good note.
They had some interesting films in 89.
Yeah. It was directed by Stephen Herrick, who also, his directorial debut was in 1986 in the movie Critters.
Really?
Yep.
Nice.
He also directed Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, The Mighty Ducks, Disney's The Three Musketeers, and Holy Man, along with a lot of other movies. He's very popular back then.
Yet we don't know his name.
Yeah. Yeah, we've never heard of him. That's odd. You know the movies, don't know the director. Now you do. It was distributed and produced by Orion Pictures. The budget on this movie was $10 million. It grossed $40.5 million. So pretty good.
Yeah.
IMDb rating gave it 6.9 out of 10, which is fair. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 82% with a 75% audience rating.
That's interesting.
Right. Letterboxd gave it 3.7 out of 5. My rating on this, 8 out of 10 slates. I mean, right off the bat, high 8s.
Yeah.
Great movie, classic. I mean, I like both of the sequels.
I was going to ask you, what'd you think of the sequels?
Yeah, I liked them both. Another actor I forgot to mention, is not in this one, but he's in the sequels.
Bill Sadler?
Yep.
Yeah.
William Sadler.
Yeah.
So
I knew where you were going.
Right. So yeah, if you haven't seen the sequels for this one, it's Bogus Journey and Face the Music. And yeah, William Sadler, he's awesome.
Yeah,
so
he's great. I gave it a 9 out of 10 slates.
Yeah,
It's a classic. I loved the movie when it came out.
Is it your favorite out of the three?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot surpass this one.
Right.
I mean, I do enjoy Bogus Journey. I've only seen Face the Music once, so I can't really, I don't have much of an opinion on it. But this one's way better,
Yeah.
Definitely the best of the trilogy.
Yeah, the Face of the Music, it kind of reminded me of the original.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they paid tribute to George Carlin and everything, character and stuff in the movie. And it was just a modern twist to the original, I think, with the phone booth and all that. I thought it was great. I gave it 7 out of 10. No, I'm sorry. I was reading the wrong review.
Oh.
I gave it 8 out of 10 slates.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's a little better.
Right. Almost a 9. Like this was one of my favorites out of this list.
It was a very fresh film when it came out. I remember it was like nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great, and just like I said, it was a lot of one-liners that that sound bites in it, and stuff that you find is excellent, and anyways. So, fun facts about this movie. Alex and Keanu actually wanted to switch roles.
Okay.
I don't know how that would have went. I think, they're both playing about the same character almost, but so I guess it could have went either way.
Yeah.
But I found that interesting that they wanted to switch roles. The time machine was originally supposed to be a van.
Okay.
So I don't know. I like the phone booth idea better.
Sure. Yeah.
Can't make another vehicle time machine. There's only one DeLorean.
Right. It's going to be a stoned out, smoky, Spicoli van.
And I'm going to take you back to episode 1, our pilot, our Pauly Shore episode.
Yeah.
Because Pauly Shore actually wanted to be Ted.
Oh,
he auditioned for the movie. So I found that interesting that we're just, we're coming back in full circle now.
That would have been fun.
I think so. Having the weasel.
Yeah.
So that's all I got on the facts of that one. I'm through with it. I can't talk about it much anymore because it's such a cult classic that everybody knows this movie. You cannot know this movie.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's not streaming anywhere.
Okay.
That I had researched. You can always rent it.
Yeah. Just go to Blockbuster.
Right.
Go to your family video.
Get in your phone booth and go back to 1990s and see your local Blockbuster video. All right, what do you got next for us?
Next movie I have on the list is the very first horror spoof movie.
Oh, I know where this is going.
It's called Student Bodies. It was released August 7th, 1981. Yes, an early 80s film. And it was directed by Mickey Rose and also directed by Michael Ritchie, but he was uncredited in that role. It was also written by Mickey Rose. That was his one and only film that he directed. He did some writing in the 70s and in the 60s. This was his only film that he's directed.
So it's a unicorn film, as you were.
Yep. Sure. Let's say that. It could not find a budget on this film, but it did make $5.1 million. So I'm going to assume it made a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Or at least broke even. IMDb gave it a 5.4 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 2.8 out of 5. And Rotten Tomatoes gave it 33% with a 52% audience rating.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I've only seen this movie one time, and for some reason it stuck with me. I can pretty much recite any scene in the movie and everything. It was great
because it's very memorable.
It really is, and I'm not a big horror fan as you are. So when you introduced me to this movie, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, I guess, and I absolutely loved it. I think that was like the movie that kind of turned me on to horror comedies and everything was this movie here.
Nice.
So,
I mean, there's not much of a synopsis to this film. It's
all over the place.
If you know your slasher films, it's basically your horror mystery. There's a slasher in a high school, and you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
But it's a spoof on the slasher genre.
It's the breather,
rather. It's what?
It's the breather.
Yeah. The movie was filmed in Houston, Texas, in and around Houston, Texas. And I don't have a whole lot of information about the film aside from Michael Ritchie, who was uncredited director of the film. Also, he directed such movies as Golden Child with Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Fletch and Fletch Lives. He directed The Island, and he wrote Cool Runnings.
Nice.
So that was Michael Ritchie. And he was actually removed from the credits of directing this film because during that time in 1981 there was a Writers Guild strike. So he didn't want to have any association to directing or writing or anything during that time, I suppose, to avoid any complications or issues.
Well, he's gone back, to being known for all those films there, like Cool Runnings and everything like that. So he's,
Unfortunately, we lost him, I think, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been gone for a while. And the movie wasn't that well received when it came out. I guess looking at these ratings, it's still not very well received. A lot of people haven't been talking about it. I didn't even know about the film until maybe 5 years ago.
Right.
And watched it, and I'm like, why are people not talking about this film?
Yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't until they showed it on TV that people started realizing, hey, this movie's pretty darn funny. And they played the movie on TV a lot because there wasn't a lot of nudity or violence or any vulgar language. So if they say the F word once, and that was for the purpose of making it an F film.
Yeah, it's really like, the Naked Gun.
Or an R film. I said F film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much along the lines of Naked Gun, scary movie.
Yeah, it's so dumb it's funny.
It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah. And for, for it coming out in 81, and it just, if you watch the film, I mean, like he said, if you've seen, any slasher film like Scream or with their spoof movies, Scary Movie and everything, it's very nostalgic to that.
Yeah.
And everything. So it's interesting. I wonder if this movie actually had a hidden muse, as you were, to these, later spoof movies and horror movies.
Oh, possibly.
I haven't seen anybody else get killed by paper clips.
Right.
So, spoiler
or
alert.
Or a giant trash bag.
Or horsehead bookends.
I could not find this streaming anywhere, but if you can find it, definitely check it out. It's worth your while, especially if you like spoof movies, if you like the slasher subgenre. Yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah,
I recommend it.
If nothing else, try to find it on YouTube. I think there's clips.
It might be on there.
The movie trailer I know is on there for sure.
Yeah.
For it, so just get a glimpse of it, and like I said, if you catch it, watch it. Highly recommend it.
Yeah. And that's all I have. I did give it what did I rate this one? I gave it 8 out of 10 slates.
I did the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
What you got, Sea-Dog?
Well, not talking about high school per se, but I'm going to talk about summer school.
All right. Love this movie.
It's like you said, Jill! We're psychopaths!
Every kid's nightmare. having to go to summer school. And in this movie, it's the teacher's nightmare because he wanted to go to Hawaii, and instead he gets forced to teaching summer school, or he's going to lose his tenure.
Yeah.
So, great movie, classic. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. It stars Mark Harmon.
Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, Kirstie Alley. This was her first role, actually.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. And in the U.S.
Okay.
And so that was one of my facts. But
who we just lost last year, too.
Yeah, sadly. That was very shocking.
Yeah.
And also Dean Cameron is in this movie.
Yep.
Mark Harmon, you might know him from NCIS,
yep.
The TV show now. A much older Mark Harmon.
Right.
So if you want to see him in his younger years in a comedy, not playing a serious role, then I recommend this.
Yep.
Came out July 22nd, 1987. It was directed by Carl Reiner.
Yes, the great Carl Reiner.
Who we just lost not that long ago,
yeah.
too.
He was in his 90s. He was pushing 100.
Yep. If you don't know who he is, people, he directed Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Steve
and
Martin.
The Jerk.
With Steve Martin.
And Two Men and a Brain.
Two Men and a Brain.
2 Men and a Brain.
The Man with Two Brains with Steve Martin.
Yes. So a lot of Steve Martin films.
He also created the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yes. Oh. Yep. And he was in Ocean's 11, 12, I think 13.
Yeah.
So he was all in the Ocean's 11 movies.
Yeah, he was a comic genius.
Yes. And the movie was distributed and produced by Paramount Pictures. The budget, I'm questionable on this. The only information I found was they had a budget of $40,000.
That's a low budget.
It's
film.
a very low budget. But I mean, given the movie, I mean,
that's Carl Reiner just pulling.
Here's my pocket change.
Yeah.
And it grossed $36 million.
Yeah.
So I'm questioning the budget a little bit, but that's all the information I found. So
it did well.
It did very well. IMDb rating gave it 6.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 56% with a 58% audience rating. And Letterboxd gave it 3.2 out of 5. I gave it 7 out of 10 slates.
I gave it 10 out of 10. I love the film.
All right.
I love it.
That's rare for you to give 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Awesome. It was a good film. It wasn't a 10 for me. So, fun facts about the movie. Kirstie Alley's first film in the U.S. that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Before that, she was doing Canadian films and stuff. The school was the same school used in Karate Kid. And you'll see that in films like Hollywood tends to reuse locations.
So I assume
buildings.
This was filmed in L.A.?
Yeah.
Okay. And that is the rest of the story. Good day.
Yeah. Easy there, Paul Harvey.
All right. Well, the next film we'll want to talk about is one of my favorite films of all time. And it's Better Off Dead.
This is pure snow! It's everywhere! Have you any idea what the street value of this mountain is?
Charles,
Wait a minute, hold it! Ah! Oh! Outrageous! I think I froze the left half of my brain! Look! I can't move my right arm!
Released October 11th, 1985, and directed by Savage Steve Holland. It was his directorial debut. It was also written by Savage Steve Holland. It was made on a budget of $3.5 out of a million, and only made about $10 million. So it didn't do great,
right?
But became a cult classic over the years. Okay. IMDb gave it a 7.1 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 3.6 out of 5, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 77% with an 87% audience rating. Classic film. It stars John Cusack, Diane Franklin, who was also in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. She was one of the English gals that they picked up and took to the future with them. She was also in Terror Vision.
Right.
And also Curtis Armstrong. And we know Curtis Armstrong as Booger from the Revenge of the Nerds films.
Nerds!
So, yeah. Savage Steve Holland directed, aside from this one, he did How I Got Into College, which was like he only did like 3 films. And that was his third one. The second one he did was One Crazy Summer, which also starred John Cusack.
Right.
And that came out the following year, in 1986. Let's see what kind of stuff I have on Better Off Dead. A lot of people may know that John Cusack disliked the film when it was released, but apparently he doesn't have much of a problem with it now. I think about 10 years ago he decided he didn't have an issue with the film, maybe because of the cult status of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Know. Enough time went by where he started to appreciate the film.
He's at peace.
Yeah. It was based on many true events of Savage Steve Holland's life, including his mom's cooking, which in the film you see it slither off its plate. Everything that she cooks like turns green. She boils bacon because her husband doesn't like it fried or whatever, and it's green and slimy and it's just nasty.
Gross.
So yeah, he based his this cooking off, these scenes off his mom's actual cooking. I don't know if she actually boiled bacon, but
right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is that his real name, Savage?
I doubt it. I think it's quote unquote Savage. Steve Holland.
Okay. Because I'll say, how cool would that be?
Right.
Just have that kind of name.
Savage, dinner's ready.
Right.
There's also a suicide attempt in the movie, and that's also based on a true event that he lived through. Apparently, he was in his garage and he tried to hang himself on one of the pipes in the garage, and the pipe broke and there water spurted out everywhere.
Wow.
And his mom was just like, "What have you done?" Not even worrying about, hey, I just tried to murder myself.
Right.
Henry Winkler went to bat for this film and helped it get made. It was because of him that John Cusack got his role. I guess he saw Cusack in his previous role in The Sure Thing, and recommended him to Holland. But the studio did not want John Cusack because they saw him in 16 Candles as one of the nerd kids. It was like, this guy, he's not main character material.
Right.
So, but they
and
persisted. He persisted and got him the role, got Cusack the role. So.
And here he is years later and starred in 2012.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, the antagonist in the film, played by Aaron Dozer, he got the role because when he auditioned, he was a real jerk to the director, and the director's like, "Hey, you're exactly what I'm looking for. You got the job."
That's
so
odd.
That happened. Other actors that were in this film, such as Amanda Weiss, who played Beth, Taylor Negron, and Vincent Schiavelli, were all in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Nice.
Amanda Weiss, you might also know as Tina from Nightmare on Elm Street. She was the first on-screen kill.
Okay.
The one that Freddy killed in her sleep, drug her up the wall into the ceiling and dropped her on the bed. That was Amanda Weiss. She played Beth.
She had a very short part in the movie.
She did. Yeah. The tagline for this movie was originally "Sometimes you're better off dead," but due to some protests, the tagline was changed from that to "Relax, you're never better off dead."
Right.
So yeah. Let's see, what else have I got? A couple other things. Chuck Mitchell. We might know him as Porky from the Porky's movies.
Mm-hmm.
He was also in the film. And the character of Ricky, the overweight, nerdy, glasses-clad next-door neighbor, the role was considered to be given to Clint Howard. And I don't know if that would have worked as well.
No.
I can't really see Clint Howard as Ricky. But yeah, that's all I have for Better Off Dead. I gave it 10 out of 10. Another one of my rare 10 out of 10s.
I gave it 8 out of 10. It was entertaining.
For shame.
It was a good, entertaining movie. One of John Cusack's best films, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always a Cusack fan and everything. So yeah, 8 out of 10.
One of the great things about this film is it's not just live action, just a regular live action comedy film. He also uses a lot of animation and stop motion claymation.
Right.
So I believe, from what I understand, that Savage Steve Holland wanted to put every effort he could into making this film because he felt like this was his only chance to make a film. He was given this big break and he wanted to throw everything at it. So he did animation, claymation, stop motion, all that stuff for the film. And it was actually that claymation part that most people's favorite part of the film.
Right.
When everybody watched it, they were like, that's the part that I remember. That part was amazing. So, yeah.
It's a shame he hadn't done anything else since then, really.
Right.
But
I like his humor. It's so offbeat and odd. And that's why I love the movie, because it's just such an odd comedy.
Right.
So, that's really all I got.
Cool.
What you got?
Well, we're going to end this episode with none other than Porky's.
Yeah. Chuck Mitchell.
5 young boys in the nude. A police lineup so that you can identify his tallywhacker. Please, can we call it a tallywhacker?
Oh, yeah. There's really not much to say for Synopsis. I mean, a group of teenagers are wanting to lose their virginity, and they get kicked out of a strip club by the owner, Porky, played by Chuck Mitchell, and they seek revenge, but they get distracted by other teen troubles, like a peephole in a shower room and other things.
Other things you can't make today.
Yeah, this is a very raunchy 80s comedy. Most 80s comedies were pretty raunchy.
Yeah.
I remember Cinemax After Dark and
yeah, Porky's and Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, USA Up All Night.
Yeah.
I'm sounding my age here now.
Like Gilbert Gottfried.
God. Yep. The movie also starred Dan Monahan, and he played Pee-wee in the movie. Yep. It was released 1981 on November 13th, and it was directed by Bob Clark, who also, you'll know him.
I know Bob Clark.
Well, for people that don't.
Oh, okay. It's not about me, Duke.
Right. For people who don't know Bob Clark, he also directed A Christmas Story, Loose Cannons, and Baby Geniuses.
And Black Christmas.
And Black Christmas, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't forget about that. I obviously did, but...
Yeah. Black Christmas, one of the first modern slashers.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
And that was like 4 years before Halloween.
Right.
So.
It was distributed and produced by 20th Century Studios. It had a budget of $4 million and grossed $160 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah. The sky's the limit for this movie.
That had to have been one of the top grossing movies of 1981.
No, I had to have been. I hadn't looked it up, but I'm pretty sure it's up there.
Oh yeah.
IMDb gave it 6.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes only gave it 34%, but an audience rating of 57%, which kind of shocks me a little bit.
Weird. It is a dated film.
It is. Letterboxd gave it 2.7 out of 5. So all around, kind of par movie. I gave the movie 8 out of 10 slates. I mean, I loved it. It was hilarious. Of course, I love all these 80s comedies, the raunchy ones. They're, you got Police Academy.
I was about to say Police Academy.
So if you're a fan of raunchy comedies, this is one of them it better be one of them on your list.
Yeah. If you're not offended easily, please go watch this film.
Yeah.
I gave it 9 out of 10 slates.
9? Okay.
I do like my comedies raunchy. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so I'm not easily offended.
Right. Exactly.
I know what the intention is.
Yeah.
And it's not to make other people mad, it's to make you laugh.
Right.
And that's one thing that we're missing these days is
laughter.
A little bit of laughter. Everybody
Exactly.
wants to be so damn serious about everything.
And be offensive over everything. I'm offended. You're offended.
All right. That offends me.
So, the only fun facts about this movie that I found, I mean, which there was a number of them, but I just the highlighted ones. It was the highest grossing movie in Canada for 24 years. Wow. It lasted 8 weeks as number one in the U.S., which, that along with E.T.'s, E.T. lasted 16 weeks.
Right.
So it kind of gives you a ratio.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the name. And then, of course, if you have seen this movie, like we said, it's very, very raunchy. So it was very controversial movie. Even then.
Yeah.
People, I'm assuming the low ratings on it was because of that.
Yeah, that's what I assumed as well.
It's very, very exploitatious movie.
It's not just an 80s comedy. It's also based... It was supposed to take place in the 50s. So,
The most controversial scene in the movie was the peephole in the shower room.
Right.
They actually show a penis.
Yeah.
In it, and that was the most controversial part of the movie. All around. And that's basically all I have for the facts of this, but highly recommended movie. It's not streaming anywhere.
Surprising.
Yeah. But I believe you can rent it on Amazon. And
just go buy the movie.
Yeah.
Because,
they actually have
classic.
They actually have the trilogy DVD series now.
I like Porky's 2 the Next Day. I thought that one was par to the original.
Right.
The third one, not so much.
Yeah, it was okay.
Based around basketball and I don't know.
Yeah. Nothing beats the original though.
Oh yeah. Love the original.
So that's all I got on that. Highly recommend it. Like I said, most of these you can find on Amazon for rent. Check out YouTube. Just
go buy the damn movie.
Yeah, just go buy the movies. So
great film, classic film. Put it up there with Revenge of the Nerds and Police Academy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Great 80s comedy.
So,
Is that the last one of yours?
that is the last one of mine.
Well,
What do you got left?
I got one more.
All right, what you got?
3 O'Clock High.
I don't like it when people know about me. In fact, I don't like it when anybody knows about me. So you can take that newspaper of yours and wipe off your dick with it.
Surprisingly, a lot of people don't know about this film, and they should.
Yeah.
It was directed by Phil Joannou.
Okay.
I'm probably going way out
Butchering.
of my way to Joannou.
I don't know.
It's probably Joannou.
Joannou.
Not Joannou.
It's French. Joannou.
Oh, sorry to offend a French, all the offenders out there. This movie was released October 9th, 1987. Phil Joannou also directed Gridiron Gang.
Okay.
I think he's done some like TV shows and stuff like that, but
Right. Gridiron Gang was a great film.
I haven't seen it.
No?
No.
You're not a rock fan, though.
He's okay. Just depends on the movie.
Yeah.
I do like football movies. It's a football movie, right? Okay. But 3 O'Clock High is great. It was written by Richard Christian Matheson. I don't think there's any relation to the actual Richard Matheson, the famous sci-fi writer.
Right.
But he did write a bunch of like B horror movies, and he did some writing for Amazing Stories. You remember Amazing Stories back in the 80s?
Yep.
And he also did some stuff for Tales from the Crypt.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. The budget for 3 O'Clock High was $6 million, and it flopped. Made $3.6 million, so it only made like half its money. IMDb, though, gave it a 7.1 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And Rotten Tomatoes, surprisingly, gave it a 57%, but that's, the reviewer rating, 73% audience rating.
Right.
So it's definitely a cult classic. It stars Casey Simasco, who we know from, he was in Back to the Future as one of Biff's goons.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that wore the 3D glasses.
Right.
He was also in Stand By Me. And it also stars Richard Tyson as the bully. Basically the synopsis of the film. See, I just suck at giving the synopsis of this film.
It's okay.
It's basically, there's a new kid in school, and he's a bully. He's from a different school. He's come to this school because he's been kicked out. And Jerry, what was his name? Jerry Mitchell. And Jerry Mitchell, who is Casey Simasco's character, he is employed to write a school paper about this new kid. And when he confronts him in the bathroom, he accidentally touches him and doesn't, Richard Tyson's character does not like to be touched. So he says, after school, 3 o'clock, you and me are going to fight. And so Jerry Mitchell is going throughout the whole school day trying to talk him out of fighting, and he's going through all this stuff to try and pay him off, and so he's just trying to get out of the fight. So that's basically what the film's about. He gets into a lot of trouble, and this shit hits the fan.
Right.
Just because he wants to get out of this fight with this big bully who's going to rip him to shreds. Richard Tyson, and this is fun, was the bad guy in Kindergarten Cop.
Right.
So we know Richard Tyson from Kindergarten Cop as well. I don't think he's done a whole lot other than that.
No, you don't see him. He's done some B-rated stuff.
Yeah. But, a fun fact about this film is that Steven Spielberg was an uncredited executive producer for this film.
Okay.
Yeah. Simasco and Tyson were actually older than the director. They were older than 25 or what. They're playing teenagers in high school. They're older than 25 and in real life are actually older than the director. So
that's crazy.
Yeardley Smith, who we know as the voice of Lisa Simpson. She was also in Maximum Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of her first roles.
Okay.
The date for this film, and you can see it when Jerry Mitchell is taking a test. The date of this film is October 20th, 1987. So we actually have a date for this film. And Barry Sonnenfeld. You know that name?
Seinfeld?
Barry Sonnenfeld.
Sonnenfeld.
Yeah.
No, I don't know that
He
name.
was a cinematographer for several films before he became a director, and he directed some cinematography for Addams Family. He directed Men in Black.
Okay.
Stuff like that, but he was the cinematographer for this film. And the last thing I have is who was considered for the role of Jerry Mitchell before Casey was actually Corey Feldman.
I could see that.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like Casey Siemaszko.
Yeah.
As an actor and specifically in this role.
Right.
But that was fun. That's fun stuff. I gave the movie 9 out of 10. I love the movie, always have.
I gave it a 7. I've only seen the movie 3 times.
Only 3 times.
Only 3 times. I can count it. 3 o'clock high. I've only seen 3 times. It was a good film. It's entertaining and everything. So I enjoyed it.
Okay. Would you watch it again?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair enough.
So, is that all you got?
That's all I have.
That's it?
That's it. That's the last film
Man.
in our list.
All right. Next week, folks, our next episode, we're going to take a short break. Mr. Duke here is going to Florida.
Florida.
How long are you going to be there?
I'll only be there for like 4 days.
4 days?
Yeah.
All right, well, bring the weather back with you.
I'll do my best.
So when he gets back, we're going to do episode 7, and that is going to be video game adaptations.
Yep.
So we've been looking forward to this all season.
That means we have to go to the movie theater.
We do. We have to go see Super Mario Brothers.
Yep.
Because we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the 93 version.
Of course we are. Of course we are.
Along with a few others.
Yep.
So, well, we're gonna create a good lineup for y'all. Again, don't forget to check us out on Amazon,
Spotify,
YouTube, and check out our Facebook page. Leave us a message. We've already gotten a couple requests that we're gonna add in. So we recommend you sending us a message and saying, hey, talk about this movie. This is cool, and we'll try to fit you in.
Do it now.
So that's all I got. You got anything to add?
Just goodbye.
Okay, we'll see y'all later.
Later.
A naked blonde walks into a bar with a poodle under one arm and a 2-foot salami under the other. She lays the poodle on the table. Bartender says, I suppose you won't be needing a drink. Naked lady says, oh, yeah!